And we're going to talk about why your brand can be a lot more important than your marketing. Why don't you kind of explain the difference between branding and marketing first off?
Absolutely. So we hear it all the time from the gym owners that we work with that I just need more clients. I just need more leads. Something that we hear all the time. And yet when we dive into things with clients, come to find out that it might be that they're attracting the wrong type of people. How many of you guys out there that are listening right now have put out a Facebook ad and then the responses that you get, the leads that you get from that Facebook ad are trash, garbage, all the time. And that's because we're attracting the wrong people because we're sending the wrong message. So the question then becomes, how do we send the right message? And this is where brand comes in. Marketing is great. Marketing is important. But if we're doing the wrong type of marketing, if we're sending the wrong message, if we're standing on a soapbox, even with a megaphone, and we are speaking about the wrong thing to the wrong people, nobody is going to listen. And this is brand, right? This is where you identify three main things that help identify your brand. And those are your core client, your core problem, and your core process or solution.
Welcome to the Profit Lifestyle for Fitness Entrepreneurs podcast. My name is Scott Carpenter. I am a personal trainer turned multiple gym owner and investor who's already been through the rock bottom and near bankruptcy in the fitness business. But I've been lucky enough to come out the other side and have turned the profits of my fitness business into indestructible wealth. I'll be sharing the no bullshit strategies, tactics, and advice to win big in business and in life. So if you're a gym owner, a personal trainer, or an online coach who wants to make multiple six figures in take-home profit and have the freedom with your time to actually enjoy it, subscribe now to this podcast. This is the show for you. All right, welcome back, everybody. Welcome to the Profit Lifestyle for Fitness Entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Scott Carpenter. With me today, Andy Boymilla. And we're going to talk about why your brand can be a lot more important than your marketing. And I guess, you know what, Andy, why don't you kick it off and explain the difference between branding and marketing? Because I know we've heard this stuff before. And this is how it is with a lot of marketing. It's like you hear these things and you know them to be true, but we don't fully grasp them. We don't fully implement them. And marketing is this difficult thing. Branding is this difficult thing. It sounds great when you're hearing people who are really good talk about it. But then when you sit down in front of a blank sheet of paper or an empty document, you're trying to do this stuff for yourself. It's really hard, right? It's really hard. And you need somebody else's perspective because it's simple stuff when you're reading about it, but then the implementation is just harder. So why don't you kind of explain the difference between branding and marketing first off?
Absolutely. So first, before I even get into the difference between branding and marketing, I want to talk about a little bit why this even became a topic, right? So we hear it all the time from the gym owners that we work with that I just need more clients. I just need more leads, right? Something that we hear all the time. And yet when we dive into things with clients, come to find out that it might be that they're attracting the wrong type of people, right? How many of you guys out there that are listening right now have put out a Facebook ad and then the responses that you get, the leads that you get from that Facebook ad are trash, garbage, right? Super common thing to happen. And how many times have you had someone come in to your facility and request information or do a trial and they're like, nah, this isn't for me, right? All the time. And that's because we're attracting the wrong people because we're sending the wrong message. So the question then becomes, how do we send the right message? And this is where brand comes in, right? Marketing is great. Marketing is important. But if we're doing the wrong type of marketing, if we're sending the wrong message, if we're standing on a soapbox, even with a megaphone, and we are speaking about the wrong thing to the wrong people, nobody is going to listen. So the question then becomes, how do you send the right message to the right people? And this is brand. Right? This is where you identify three main things that help identify your brand. And those are your core client, your core problem, and your core process or solution. At the end of the day, one of the things that I think we get away from as business owners is what our real job really is, right? Like at the end of the day, a lot of us here that are listening are probably gym owners or fitness entrepreneurs. And so you think that your job might be to deliver workouts or to help somebody lose weight. And that's not actually your overall goal. As a business owner, your job is to solve a problem for a specific person. That's it. Yeah. And once we start looking at things through that simple lens, it now becomes a lot easier to figure out who we are and what we do.
Yep.
But it is super easy to get away from that because maybe we started our gym because we wanted to work out with our buddies, or because the gym that we went to closed down, or because we thought we could do it better. But until you actually sit down and say, what problem am I solving and who am I solving it for? You're never going to get anywhere. And these
I
are the
find that
things.
this evolves a lot too,
Yeah.
right? As
Oh,
you're in
absolutely.
business, because you might have gotten involved 10, 15 years ago into this and did large group training stuff and loved it, but you've
Yep.
evolved in who you're working with and everything. Or you get this a lot, but this is how meatheads get into gym ownership, right?
Right.
Like maybe you're a total meathead, you love bodybuilding or you love powerlifting, right? And so you open up a place and it wants to have that kind of a focus, speaking to that kind of people. And then you quickly realize the majority of people years later that are coming to your gym might be 50-year-old women, you
Exactly.
know? And so you have to, in a perfect world, yes, you have done all the homework. You know your core client, your core problem, your core process. You've done a market analysis to see if your local area can even support that financially, right? Can those people pay the rates that's necessary? How many are there? Most of us don't do that kind of stuff.
No.
We start a place, we buy a place, and we go from there, and it evolves a little bit. And what we find is that we got to step back and reevaluate. Yeah, who am I actually serving, and what are their
Mm-hmm.
problems,
Yeah,
right? And then
absolutely.
does what I sell, my core process, does that connect to the problem that they have?
Exactly. Right. And that's where brand really comes in, right? Once you
Mm-hmm.
identify your core client and their core problem, now what you start to do is say, am I actually solving that problem for that client? And is the way that I'm solving it speaking to that client in a way that
Right.
they understand?
Yes.
And so when people come to us and we start talking about marketing and everything, the first thing that I always do is take a look at their brand, right? We take a look at their website. I was just working with someone, a client of ours, and we started talking about marketing. And I said, cool, let me pull up your website. And I pulled up their website and I looked at everything and I said, according to what I'm viewing from your website, you work only with women above the age of 50, and your facility is probably owned by a woman. And the person that I was talking to was a guy. And he was like, no, that's not true at all. I go, well, that's the message that you're sending out because that's the brand that you are
Mm-hmm.
speaking about.
Mm-hmm.
And so we really need to start to identify what that looks like, right? Because again, basically, he's standing on a soapbox with a megaphone, screaming at people, but he's screaming the wrong message to the wrong people, right?
That's a great
And
analogy.
a lot of people sit here and go, well, when we start doing a core client exercise and they say, well, I don't want to pigeonhole myself to one person. And you're right. We don't want to do that. We never want to do that because we can help multiple people. But
Yeah.
what we do is we identify our core client so that we can then identify core problems that we actually solve.
Exactly. And I think this is where people struggle because
Right.
you always hear talk to one person.
Yes.
And there's different ways to interpret this. And here's the thing, guys. If you're an online coach, right, and your whole target market is like every English speaking adult in the world, that's a big market.
It
You
is.
can
And you're speaking
speak.
to a lot of people.
Yeah, you're looking at millions and millions and millions. So you can be like, oh, I'm going to target men between the ages of 40 and 49 and blah, blah, blah. You can talk to a guy, right? But if you're a local business, now a specific marketing campaign can be targeted towards men or this or that,
Sure.
right? But
Absolutely.
it does need to be slightly more broad, right?
Yes.
Because depending on where you're at and the density, your people might only be coming to you from anywhere from 3 to a 10 mile radius, right? And if it's 222 focus and zoomed in, all of your stuff is for that. It's like there's physically not enough of those customers that actually live there to make that
And
work.
that's why when we start talking about this, we're not identifying a core client to only speak to a core client. We're
Yeah.
identifying a core client to identify the core problem. And here's the thing:
Yes.
multiple different types of people face the same type of problem.
Yes.
So for those of you that have done core client or avatar client exercise in the past, right? And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, one of my favorite clients happens to be not within that core client, like they don't fit that mold. Well, take a look at the problem that you're solving for them,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like if your core client is, let's say, 25 to 35 years old and young professional, maybe even an entrepreneur, single, probably lives on their own disposable income, right? And what they want is they want a place. Maybe they're new to town. You live in a transient town, right? And they're new to town and they want a place where they can feel like a third space and they can connect with other people. Cool. You've now identified a core problem that you're solving, a place for people to come together and connect with shared common interests. Guess what? People that aren't just 25 to 35 also have that same problem. Maybe you've got somebody in your gym that's a 50-year-old woman, but she loves hanging out with the younger crowd because it makes her feel younger. And that's her way of connecting.
Mm-hmm.
That's totally cool. So I love going through a branding exercise because a lot of people get hung up on this core client exercise. I'm like, look, I get it. You don't want to just specify male or female, 25 to 35. You want to help a ton of people. And we can. But what we need to do is identify the actual problem that you are solving. And we cannot do that until we identify the type of person that the core client that has this problem.
And so what you like to do, Craig, but you kind of start by picking out, hey, let's look at 2, 3, 4, 5 of the clients that you already have.
Yep.
Right? Who is a combination of they pay you the most money and are also the most fun to work with, right? You
Absolutely.
enjoy it the most. They are your brand ambassadors typically, right?
Yep.
Like you take a look at those people, and then so that's your core client or clients that you want to take a look at.
Yep.
And you want to look at those people, all right, and be like, okay, what's Shannon's core problem or problems?
Right.
And then what's Mike's core problem or core problems, right?
Yep. So we take an amalgamation of the top 5, or if you have the data, take it from your entire population, right? If you're small enough or you have the data, take it from your entire population and find the developing trends. What is the age group, right? What is the occupation? Are they married? Are they single? Do they own a dog? Right? Random things like that. Because what you then do is you create this avatar and then you talk to the top 5 people and you say, here's the questions that I love to ask. Why did you start working out in the first place? And why do you keep working out at said facility, right? My facility, Trade Winds Fitness. Like, why do you keep working out here? And you take a look at those responses, and now you start to identify the actual problems that you're solving for people that you consider your core client. And now you can start to address and speak to those problems in your marketing. Because again, as a business, your job is to solve a problem, not provide it, not automatically just shove a solution within someone's face, which is what I think we try to do a lot. We say,
Definitely.
hey, you're overweight, you should work out with us. Or, hey, you should work out because it's good for you. Right.
Correct.
And at the end of the day, so many, like, people aren't going to listen to that.
No.
The way I always look at this is when you talk about your brand, you talk about your marketing, it should be, and I don't remember where this came from. Maybe it's from a movie. I don't know. But I have this vision stuck in my head where there's a guy in a bean bag at like 3 o'clock in the morning, sitting in front of a TV, eating Cheetos. Right. And then an infomercial comes on. You guys remember infomercials? Like, you know, they would show up at like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And an infomercial shows up and it goes, are you a guy sitting in a beanbag eating Cheetos? And the guy goes, oh my God, yes, that's me. That's what your messaging should say. It should speak to a problem that you have that someone automatically goes, that's me. I have that problem. They know my problem. They understand me. And then you offer your solution and how it helps them overcome their problem.
Yeah.
You guys want to talk about attracting the right people, whether it's a high ticket program that you're selling, whether it's large group fitness that you're selling, whether it's one-on-one coaching, it doesn't really matter. You want to start attracting the right people to the right service, start speaking to the actual problem that they have that you actually solve for them, and see how many of the right people start to come in your door that automatically just go, yep, this is exactly what I need. Take my money.
Yep. And that core problem. So you got your core client.
Yep.
Their core problem, right? And then the core process.
Yep. Is how you solve that problem for that core client.
How you solve that problem. Yeah. It's the bridge between getting them from where they are and to crossing the gap, solving that problem, getting them to where they want to be.
Absolutely. So it's a concept, right? So Donald Miller wrote a book called Building a Story Brand. And we're going to peel back the curtain on TV and media for a second. And I'm probably going to ruin every movie that you ever watch from here on out. But every single movie in pretty much the entirety of history follows a similar plot. You have a hero, your main character. That main character faces a problem that they cannot solve on their own. Introduce a guide who helps them figure out how to solve that problem. They then go on a journey with that guide to figure out how to solve that problem. They then solve that problem, and then the sun comes up behind the clouds and every cherubs sing, and the movie ends. Every single movie pretty much follows that same exact plot line.
Mm-hmm.
And so all we're doing in our marketing, all we should be doing in everything that we talk about is the same thing. We should be identifying a problem for a core client. We should then be offering our service as a guide to teach them how to overcome this problem and then showing them what this outcome looks like. And if you guys start doing that in your messaging, you guys will have people literally knocking down your door and going, I want to do this. Instead of you sitting in front of consultations going, well, I really think that this is perfect for you, and then facing objections every step of the way.
Yeah. And then, yeah, here's all the things we have.
Right.
Right. Here's our 18 choices. You can come in here 2 times a week, 3 times a week, unlimited. We've got a large group. We've also
another
got
fun topic.
PT stuff. And then we got, nutrition. So we've got nutrition, this and that and the other. And then you're showing all these options, and it's like you're just selling shit.
Yeah.
But they don't want to buy anything. They want to solve their problem.
They just want their problem solved.
Yes.
Right. Think about it when you go out to dinner. A restaurant solves the problem of either A, you not knowing what you want to make, or B, you not having the time to know what or not the groceries or the ingredients, right? That's what a restaurant solves. A restaurant solves a problem because you either don't have the time, the resources, or the money, or the time or resources to make dinner at home on your own. So you go out to dinner because it does it for you. That is the problem that it solves. When we start as business owners, really start looking at our job as solving a problem, and we should build our entire business around solving that problem, build our brand around solving that problem, you guys will be shocked at how much easier marketing, consultations, getting new leads becomes, because now you're getting the right people in the door. And again, your problem that you solve can fit multiple different types of people, right? And so, like one of our head coach, Taylor, he lives in a small town. He's like, dude, if I narrowed down to one specific person, I would completely limit my pool. I go, I understand that, Taylor, but what problem are you solving? He goes, oh, well, I'm solving, I have, an open gym model, or I have, a high ticket program, and I'm solving this problem for this person in those programs. Great. And you cast that net, and sure, you'll catch other people in that net, but you'll also catch the people that are meant for that program, because you're offering a solution to their problem. That's why people pay other people for things to solve a problem for them. It's why you pay a handyman or a contractor to redo your roof or build your deck, because you don't know how to do it. And your problem is, I need a new deck. So I hire a contractor to build my deck for me. Same thing here. We need to identify the problem that we are solving for people, and then actually speak to that problem and how we solve that specific problem. Yeah. And so if you start building.
I was just going to say, don't get hung up on that core client. This is where it hangs up everybody.
It hangs up everybody.
It's because okay, well, I can't just speak to moms with kids who have,
and you don't have
are in elementary school, right? And so, but it's the core client. The whole purpose of that is to lead you to the core problems that you solve.
Exactly.
Right. That's it.
So if it is a mom who's got kids, right, what is their core problem? Maybe it's a lack of time. Okay. So you can speak to how your program maybe is 3 days a week for 30-minute sessions, because they're easy to fit in. They're time efficient. Guess what? Who else has a problem similar to that? Probably entrepreneurs that own their own business. Are you going to get both? If you start speaking about how your program solves people that have a limited amount of time, 100%. But if we didn't identify a core client to identify that problem, then we're speaking to nobody about nothing.
Exactly.
And then we're just the 99 of restaurants, and nobody wants to go to the 99. You just go because it's convenient.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in marketing, so that's your overall brand, right? And then marketing, yes, that's where you can get more specific on things. You can run a campaign for men, blah, blah, blah. You can run a campaign for women, blah, blah, blah. You can segment further, right?
Yep.
Now, a lot of times, we'll do that in the gyms, I'll do that by ages.
Yep.
Right? Fit in your 40s, fit after 50. Different things work in different markets, even kind of going the 60 plus and speaking more to that.
Absolutely.
Can crush it in certain markets, but you can't really overly segment too much unless you've got a decent budget or you know what you're kind of doing. So, but again, you're going to have one website. So I can't be that honed in on whatever it is. It's got to be broad enough. But again, it's not about calling out that individual person right on
No,
there. It's about that person's problems. So,
exactly. And
yeah,
how your specific business solves that problem. That is your brand. That's what
yes.
people will identify you as and know you as. And until you figure out what that is and then develop your brand, your business around that problem, you'll never be successful.
Yeah. And I think this is really good. I think it provides a lot of clarification. And so if you're listening to this, you're like, okay, that actually makes sense. I'm going to encourage you wherever you're at, pull over on the side of the road, or just when you get back to your home or your office or whatever it is, just write out, get a blank sheet of paper, core client, core problems, core process.
Yep.
And you might have some aha moments like, oh, okay, actually, I've kind of known my core client, core problems, but you know what? The process, that how I solve that problem, I'm not
Doesn't
speaking to
align.
the client and the client's
Exactly.
problem. And that's where a disconnect is a lot because, I mean, people in our industry tend to be very, we just geek out on nutrition stuff. We geek
We
out
do.
on physiological stuff. And we want to take that passion and that knowledge and like share it and talk about it. But our core clients and their core problems, they don't give a rat's ass about that.
No. And sometimes we are so fixated on one thing or one way that we're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
Yeah.
And doing a core client, core problem, core process exercise can really, as you said, right, have some aha moments where you're like, oh, maybe my process, maybe what I'm trying to do to solve this problem is not working because it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't actually solve the problem that I'm trying to solve.
Yeah.
And I always love having those experiences with people. So if you guys ever want to, have someone help you run through a core client, core problem, and core process exercise, a brand development process, please reach out to me, shoot me an email, right? Andrew at theprofitlifestyle.com. And I will be more than happy to hop on a call and walk you through guys some stuff. I love this stuff. Like really defining someone's brand and really helping them speak to the right client is something I'm super passionate about.
You're right. And this is something that just nobody really takes a look at. Like the first thing I love doing is going to the website. I can tell a lot about
Yep.
a business. And the assumptions are right 95% of the time. Sometimes they're not, right?
Yep.
But man, you can tell a lot from a website.
Absolutely.
And you can tell where you're going to have problems and gaps and issues just from that.
Mm-hmm.
And just a little audit on that one goes a long way. And then obviously extends to that with social media and things like that. But I tell you what, it's like, yeah, no wonder you're having a hard time. It's,
Yeah.
it's not what the people that you're trying to bring in, that's not what they want to see.
Nope.
So yeah, take Andy up on that. Andrew at theprofitlifestyle.com. Because he's really good at this. You've done this for me. And it's really helped provide a lot of clarity. Like you just did it
we
for
have,
me and
yeah.
you popped it open. I'm like, oh, it's pretty fucking good.
Yep. That was fun. That was a lot of fun to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah. So guys, definitely reach out if you have any questions. Please let me know. But other than that, I think that's about it for today's episode. I hope you guys learned something. If you did, definitely make sure to like, subscribe, share this with another fitness entrepreneur, gym owner that you think could benefit from this. Right? If you got a buddy that's like, dude, I don't know, you're messaging, you're all over the place. Send them this. Have them reach out to me. I'd love to help.
Do the whole like, subscribe thing, share it, and we'll see you on next week. Appreciate you guys listening. Listen, if you're stuck and could use some advice in your business, whether you're just starting out, a veteran in the business, or expanding online or into multiple locations, you can hop on a free call with us to pick our brains at ptlegends.com/one-on-one call. You can see that in the show notes. That is with numbers. Chances are we'll be able to help you get some clarity on what you need to do specifically in your business to get to the next level. It's not a sales call. We'll connect you with the right resources to help you solve your problems. But if you want to learn more about working with us, that's cool too. We can share that information should you want it. So book your call now to get out of the rat race before your week consumes you, which is easy to do at ptlegends.com/one-on-one call. That's with the number 1 on the number 1 call. You can find this in the show notes. See you soon.